Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today we're going to go over the market, the final day of the week, of course, Monday being an off day, right? Being a holiday essentially. So we're going to close out the week, see what we can expect for next week and essentially for the remainder of September. Now, very quickly, I want to pull up a specific chart that I showed you guys before, but I want to show you guys again later on in the video as we kind of get more into it. But all that being said and done, guys, if you enjoy the video, then don't forget to hit that like as usual. But let's just get this party started. Tesla ending the day down actually 2.5%, putting us at $270.21 compared to the market itself. Like the Nasdaq being down 1.4%, Tesla essentially just following the market. As you can see, the candles on the market itself are quite similar. So this is kind of an example of why I always say, like, this is not a time to be greedy or extremely risky. Again, not financial advice, make your own decisions, do your own research or whatever. But I've been telling you guys for a while, this is not the time to be risky, greedy, whatever. I make, very kind of, I guess, YOLO plays, if you will. Mainly because of days like this, right? Yesterday, we had an absolutely wonderful bullish reversal, bullish closure pretty much across the market. And this morning, we did have a great follow-up, right? At the beginning of the day, we had like a nice little rally, kind of, went a bit higher and whatnot. It was looking pretty okay. But the fact that we got rejected here, over and over and over, like same with the market here, like just a, nice little rally up here and just an extremely sharp sell-off. And this is exactly why you want to be really careful because of situations like this, where even though and I specifically said this yesterday, just because we have a beautiful bullish looking hammer candle, that doesn't mean the market owes you anything, and nothing is ever guaranteed. It's just about the odds. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if it's not 100%, there's always a chance something else will happen, right? So even if this was a 99% chance of a reversal, as long as there's 1% chance, something else can happen. However, with that being said and done, I actually still haven't lost all hope yet. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty, ugly close, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe at the beginning of the week, next week, a little bit, more red to follow, but not that much more. For instance, for Tesla, I would be surprised if we go much lower than 266, and if we do, I'll be really surprised if we go under 262. Essentially, as long as Tesla is above 262, I'm willing to still make like somewhat short-term bullish plays up until this line gets crossed under. The second we cross under 262, between 262 to like 260, something like that. The second we lose that general area of what I would assume would be demand, that's where I would be like even more cautious. I'm already fairly cautious and I'm trying to like really like not be too greedy, but that's essentially where I would personally, be extra cautious. Again, not financial advice, make your own decisions, do your own research, all that stuff, right? None of this is financial advice. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the overall thing, right? On the daily, again, like on the daily, it's not going to change a whole lot, mainly because the daily takes a while to actually change any form of true momentum. But we're still ultimately on the daily looking bearish, other than the fact that the Bollinger Band, we're still hugging the red line, which ironically is bullish for me at least, because, whenever we're hugging the red line, to me, again, I try to like maybe view it as potentially accumulation phase. Again, it doesn't always apply. Like here's a beautiful example as to like, just keep hugging it and hugging it, just keep falling and falling and falling, right? But usually when you're hugging the red line, like that's usually not a horrible time to slowly add, in my opinion. But moving on, again, we're still around the 50 moving average. We closed just, I think, a tad below it. Just a tad below it, but barely. We're pretty much right on it. So I expect, some form of, buying pressure to come in around this general level. The 200, of course, forget about it. And then we're still getting rejected by the shorter term moving averages being the 10 and the 5, especially the 5 for now. So overall, Tesla's still looking like I said, net bearish. And I wouldn't be surprised if early next week, Tuesday, for instance, we maybe come down once again to around this like 267-ish level to 266. Potentially, if we lose that, come down to 262 roughly. However, again, as long as these levels right here, this general zone of demand holds, I still expect a little bit of a run up for Tesla coming up. It'll be hard to say where though. We need to see where we bounce. If we bounce here or if we bounce here, because that can determine how much farther we can go. So for instance, right, if we I'm making this 1 second, guys, sorry. Yikers. So as an example, right, so if you take up here and go down here, if we, for instance, do bounce off of this, let's say 267 area again, then, I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe come up to, again, maybe close to 290, 285 to 290, like that wouldn't surprise me. However, if we come down to, let's say this area of around like 262-ish, then I wouldn't be surprised if we go to maybe like 282 to 288, somewhere in that range as well. So it really just depends on where exactly we get the real bounce. And, if we go any lower, if we just bounce off of this again, but, we'll come to that as it happens. But overall, ultimately, I am still expecting a short-term bounce following this market sell-off today and the past, few days, of course, as well. Just, a lot of red constantly. The SPY is still holding above this level, which isn't too bad. So we'll see how it goes. But ultimately, like I said, even though I expect something like this to happen. So let's say we come down somewhere around here, let's say. I still expect like a bounce, maybe somewhere around here, give or take, and then ultimately make our way well below this level, right? At the very least, the gap fill somewhere around this like 247 area, like at the very minimum, maybe get a bounce off of that, and then probably one smaller leg for more down, at least like minimum is what I expect to see happen, right? Again, my personal major accumulation zone is the low 200s. Like I personally would love to see Tesla back at like 210, and anywhere between like, you know, this like kind of area right here of like 220 to like 160. Like it's a pretty big range. Like 220 to 260 is a pretty large range. Like that's a 27% range, right? But you know, this isn't a market that I'm personally trying to time the bottom in. This is a market where I'm being patient, waiting for, you know, the market to really sell off how I think it will, and then slowly start accumulating. That's just my goal for the rest of the year, and especially during the season of fall. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm seeing now. Before I end off the video, I actually do want to look at the weekly very first. Pretty important thing to look at, right? The weekly not looking great. You can see as we were kind of holding this area, we kind of bounced off this area on the weekly several times. This general, you know, red line over here, we did get rejected this week, fell below it. So I expect maybe a little bit of green early next week, and then, or sorry, sometime next week, probably a little bit of red to start on Tuesday, followed by probably some bounce, some green action into the remainder of the week, and then probably is, I think, where the real sell-off will start to happen somewhere around the middle of September-ish. To kind of further back this up, this is the chart that I've showed you guys before, and this is extremely important. I'm going to move my camera over here for now, but we are, of course, the red line. I've showed you guys this, like, I think like a month ago now, and it's like if you were to take the market, like let's say a SPY or maybe QQQ or whatever, and kind of like overlay it above the red line, you would be pretty surprised at how closely it's following the red line, being, you know, of course, the line that we are currently you know, in right now, right, being the second year a new Democratic president, being, of course, Mr. Biden. So we just entered September, right? You can see September, we sell off into September, into the beginning of September, which is essentially literally what just happened, into a little bit of a rally coming in, you know, pretty much like as we enter like kind of like just past the first week-ish of September, and then we kind of start selling off, and then we really start selling off, and then we have a bit of a rally, and then we really sell off even further, right? So that's essentially what I'm expecting to happen. Like this chart right here is pretty much what I'm expecting to happen, right? So this right here, for instance, could be the gap fill I was talking about on Tesla at the very least, like minimum, right? It could be easily the gap fill, if not maybe even a little bit lower for Tesla, maybe even like, you know, 235 to 245, somewhere in that range. Could be like this little fall right here. Then we'll probably bounce off of this area, probably come back up to somewhere around this like 260 to 270 area, which would be essentially this little rally up here. And then from there, we fall extremely aggressively, pretty much up, leading up until the midterm elections, right? As you can see, the midterm elections, correct me if I'm wrong, are the very beginning of November. I think November 8th, I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but I just know it's like very early November, somewhere around the 8th of November. And pretty much as, you know, November rolls around, you have a lot of uncertainty prior to the, you know, midterm elections, you know, the whole fiesta, if you will. As usual, the market is like this when it comes to these kind of uncertainties. And then as it becomes a little more certain and whatnot, the market starts to rally off of that, you know, and it kind of gets a little bit of consolidation, and then we just essentially rally in for the rest of the year, right? I'm pretty much expecting something like this to happen, give or take, because also mainly because we have been following this like surprisingly accurate. Like for instance, let's take a look at the SPY, right? So as you can see, the major fall happened right here, and we bottomed out somewhere around the 17th of June is where we had our major bottom, and we started rallying. So taking a look over here, you can see right here, beautiful, look at this, major fall pretty much near the, you know, second half of June, this is June right here, this whole area, major fall, second half of June, we found the bottom and we rallied since, and we haven't made a lower low yet. Though we have come, you know, halfway there, let's say, right? Which is essentially exactly what this is, like rough, again, it's not gonna be like literally, you know, pixel to pixel, but it's like pretty much there. Like this is also fell about halfway to this low. You know, now we're gonna probably get a little bit of rally and then probably fall back to the June lows once again, right? Which Tesla, again, was somewhere around this 210 area. So maybe we'll even go that low. That's very possible as well. But essentially we fall somewhere to around those June lows, then we get a bit of a rally, and then we fall even lower. And that is the ultimate market bottom for now, at least, right? So it's pretty shocking at how accurate this has become, right? You can see this area right here being pretty much the majority of August, if not literally all of August, pretty much exactly what happened here, right? The majority of August, it's shockingly similar. Like it's kind of like scary how similar it is. So that's essentially what I'm seeing, guys. You know, let me know what you think down below. I think this would be pretty important to keep in mind. But again, none of what I say is financial advice. So make sure you do your own research, make your own decisions, all that good stuff. But I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys for Tuesday. So until then, peace.